They got under $100 drones. Best believe they got super soldiers in that bitch.
Hey, and welcome to Fade to Black, a film podcast hosted by OMG Studios Philly. New episodes premiere Monday and Friday throughout the month of February. Today we're talking about Questlove's 2021 film Summer of Soul, a documentary about a 1968 music festival in Harlem. It goes a little something like this.
Welcome to the Harlem Cultural Festival here in the Harlem.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Fade to Black podcast, hosted by OMG Studios Philly. I am your host, David Dunnington, co-hosted by Sunny B. Rose, the founder of OMG Studios Philly. What's up? What's up? Today, we are here with Omari Vel, talking about a movie called Summer of Soul. Omari, introduce yourself.
Hey, what's up? So I'm a rapper, producer, multi-instrumentalist. I make what I consider glam rap. It's like this amalgamation of like 80s funk and like glam rock with rap. I wear like this feather outfit and this sequin thing. My debut project is called Crimson. It's on all platforms, so you can definitely check it out.
And you got some music videos too?
Oh yeah. So one of them is shot by David here. He did the Ultraviolet video, which honestly I think that's my favorite of the three, just because of the political nature of it, which like lines the most up with me. There's two others. So I did one for Running Man, which is the first song on the tape. That's directed by Taj Rausch. Yeah. So the latest one is Patty B, which is directed by Josh Walker and Pat Bemke. Yeah, that one's really cool too, because it's like Patrick is like crazy at making collages, so he made this insane collage of just like so many Pat Benetars behind me. Like when I first saw it, I was like, I don't even know how did you find this many pictures of this woman? You know what I mean? Like literally, where did you find these pictures?
So yeah, I wanted to, I pick movies for our specific guests. Even with the Ultraviolet video, there's a lot of archival stuff, and it's, very based in like politics and stuff, and so is Summer of Soul.
Honestly, I'm really surprised that I hadn't watched it, because I remember when it came out, and I was like, I'm going to watch it, you know what I mean? And they got a lot of great archival footage from a music festival that happened in Harlem in the summer of 1969, and I think one of the things that's strongest about it is honestly the way that they brought a lot of historical context in it, which is really important when you talk about music. I think a lot of people try and remove music from the people who are making it, and like if you're going to talk about black artists, there's almost always like a revolutionary backing to what they're doing. And I really like that this movie like told this music festival, or talked about the story of this music festival without getting away from the core of the time period. It's 1969. There's a lot of political unrest, and it did both angles really well. Thinking back to, how I was taught history and like taught music, like I don't understand how the biggest contribution I was told that black people had to America was peanuts. Like I think it kind of like goes back to that. Like there's the level of erasure doesn't even like surprise me at this point. Musical movements are always, or not always, I think we're starting to break it now because of labels, or like because labels aren't at the forefront. Like before it was like the radio got to decide who was big, and these executives got to decide those things, right? But now with the internet, anybody can do it. So I think I'm hoping that, in the coming generations, a lot of the erasure will go away when it comes to musicians. But before, like, something might have been started by black people, but that doesn't mean that that's the version that's going to be the popular version. You know what I mean? Right. There was like a very clear delineation between white music and black music, even though, especially in certain time periods, it feels like the music itself sounds pretty much the same. But it's like, well, are you calling it rock or are you calling it funk? You know what I mean? Or are you calling it rock or are you calling it blues? Like, what do we,
Like, other things that they, like, talked about were happening at the same time was the moon landing. Which, when we think about it now, feels like such a revolutionary thing to have landed on the moon. But then to, like, see all of these people who were just like, yeah, fuck the moon. Like, I'm hungry. Yeah. Like, who cares? They're putting people on the moon, and yet, like, we don't have housing. And I'm like, fuck. Like, you're right.
I love that they showed that. I really love that they showed that.
Yeah. I mean, and even that one news reporter who's just like in the crowd to ask people about the moon landing. Don't you see all these black people having a good time, just enjoying themselves? And you're like, but what about the moon? So you just don't care? And it's like, no.
Yeah. Why would you care?
Yeah.
Like, literally, why would you care? You know what I mean? It's so far.
They're not putting us on the moon.
Yeah. Like, you know, if your basic needs are not being met, like, why the fuck would you care about the moon landing? You know, it's like so far on the priority list. It's pretty low.
It feels like a direct comparison to like Jeff Bezos right now too, because it's like he brought some friends with him, and it's like, cool, I get it, me too, I would love to touch the moon, but not when there's people starving, and not when we trying to figure out how to close the holes in the ozone layer, you know?
Yeah. And it kind of shows the difference, because like it's like it's like a smack in the face almost. It feels that way now as well. With like Jeff Bezos is a great comparison. It's like, you know, if I'm out here struggling, you know what I mean, like, why the fuck are you allowed to just like jet off? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And then why would I applaud that?
You are literally the owner of several plantations across this country. Like, have thousands of people working for you as machines, basically, just so you can jet set across the globe.
I always feel like people think a lot of these issues are new, right? They're like, this is new, this is new, this is new. But if you watch enough archival footage, it's been the same fight like this entire time. Like, all of the stuff that they were saying, you could just you know, take the audio away and just like put it on a BLM rally, and it would have just felt the same. You know, it would have felt identical, because a lot of these issues, like, given it's not as, you know, what's it called, heavy-handed as segregation, but like the effects of mass incarceration, it's like you can redefine slavery and it still be slavery. You know what I mean? Like, wage slavery is definitely a thing, and, you know, everything that's happening in the jails, like, I don't know. I just think that it's interesting that not that much has changed. It's just kind of like shifted. It's just like kind of reoriented itself.
Or even just the fact that this was a revolutionary musical moment because people were tired. Like, I had never heard it laid out where it was just like, okay, JFK went, then Malcolm, then Martin, and then Robert. And I was like, damn, that was a lot to go back to back to back. And they're like, so summer of '69, we was just trying to relax and not have to do the same thing. And I'm like, oh man, it sounds like, not to compare it to COVID, because it's not a direct one for one, but the amount of massive trauma that we all just experienced, and it felt like music kind of stopped for a while, like, or at least stopped being like really good after 2018, 2019. But here we are back in 2022, and now we're getting albums, drops, things that people have just been sitting on for years, because they're like, okay, I took this time to process, I was grieving, I did a lot of healing, and now this is where we're at. And that's feels like what that gathering felt like. Yeah,
and I think Nina Simone makes a really good point. You know, it's always about like how music has to be representative of the time. And I think like with 2020 and the music that came out of it, the reason why I think like, you know, stuff sounded good in 2018, you know what I mean, in 2019, and then 2020, like, what the hell happened? Those people that were on top were still dropping albums. I don't know if you didn't notice, but they still have albums, but they were just incredibly tone deaf. I was sitting in my house, and I was like, I'm not in the club. That's not where I am. You know what I mean? So, like, there were some people that were still dropping these records, but it's not going to have that impact because the culture itself has shifted. You know what I mean? Like, COVID created such a cultural shift. You know, and it's just nice to have, you know, we're coming back again. And I think it kind of exposed a little bit, like, the need for substance in music again, you know, and I hope that trend continues, because, like, after any, you know, pandemics or, like, you know, really hard times, there's usually, like, renaissances right after. And I'm, like, really hoping that, you know, in the next coming years, the next 5 years is kind of like a cultural renaissance, because everybody got that time, you know, in the pandemic. So
I think so. And like, you can even see it with dance, like thinking about Beyonce and this new like disco, she called it disco trap. But disco, funk, house music is coming back. Like, people just want to dance. Like, kids are out here voguing like they're at balls. And it's like y'all's bodies are moving in ways that I couldn't at this age. But it's like a new wave that folks are like, no, we need to get through the shit. Like, the world is burning and I'm trying to enjoy myself. I got a lot of things I need to groove out, or just stimming, because we're all neurodivergent too, but whatever. Yeah, It's just
I
an
think that's so
interesting
true.
movement.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see where it goes, because not only do I love house music and disco and all that kind of stuff, but just to have fun again, with music and just generally being out again from the pandemic. Like, God, it feels so good to like just go anywhere. Still I haven't fully like gotten used to it. So yeah,
I need to see. I think we're gonna get a dissertation about how in 2020 the most popular and most relevant song was WAP.
You're right.
Interesting. No, that well, like I wouldn't be surprised. Like anything that gets people to really hate it. Like if nobody hates what you're doing, you're not doing anything interesting. That is just the facts. If everybody's cool with it, oh yeah, that's great. You know what I mean? You're not, because it's hate is an extreme.
God bless them.
Yeah, like you need haters. They got some haters. They got quite a few.
I guess I'm just a dumb young person. Didn't know Stevie Wonder could play drums.
Oh yeah, I didn't actually either. I
Yeah.
wasn't that surprised, but I didn't.
Not even just play drums, like kill them.
That was something I was thinking about watching this, was like how many people actually played instruments compared to now. I'm like, now we have performers who are singer dancers, but not musicians, not multi-musicianists, instrumentalists, except for you, Omar.
Maybe Lizzo.
Yeah.
In the mainstream, it's Lizzo for sure.
Yeah,
I'm
it's so few. Like, honestly, it's one of the things I really want to do with my career is, like, I care, like, 90% about live stuff. Like, I love making records and stuff, but I really, really care about live performance because I've just been doing it for such a long time, and I think it's the most important medium. It's, like, when you really connect to a person, and also, like, if somebody's going to pay money to see me, you know what I mean, I'm gonna show out, and, like, the actual sound that you can get with, like, real instruments and people playing it's just so nice. So I end up watching like a lot of, this really was a perfect pick for me because I just watch a lot of live stuff, and like Stevie Wonder really is no joke. Like I would definitely recommend watching more of his live stuff. It's really good. But yeah.
And what other performance you think sticks out to you? Like I think one for me is, and the conversation that was had with it was Fifth Dimension. Like I just loved their conversation where they were just like, yeah, people thought we were white till they saw us in that little hot air balloon on the album cover. And I think a lot of black people can identify with this moment, even if you've always identified as black, just being like, wanting to feel validated by a bunch of black people.
Yeah.
Just because it feels good. And like they're on that stage and like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy that like Let the Sun Shine In was like considered a white song, because like what?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Aquarius too, because like when they started singing it, I was like, oh my gosh, it's from Hair, and then they were like, yes, we saw Hair, and I was like, fuck. Because even Nina Simone like wrote a song inspired by a play, and so I was just excited to see like theater brought into this and like more art influences. But yes, also to being like the black kid who needs black people validation. That's pretty much why Fifth Dimension stood out to me.
That whole conversation that they were having around it is such a good point. Like, I just hate the whole like white music, black music conversation, because like
we made it all. We literally made it all.
Yeah, it's always foolish. Like I remember like House is coming back right now, right? I feel like maybe like 5 years ago, if you talked to the wrong person and you tried to listen to House around them, they would have been like, this is some white people shit. House is in no way white or even straight. It's super gay.
No.
You know what I mean? It's
gay black shit.
It's gay black, you know what I mean? And the fact that it's been co-opted is not the problem of the current black people that want to make that genre. You know what I mean? Like that's not anybody's problem, because it's been co-opted by like mainstream, white culture, and it also just can become a dangerous like hole to go down, because like the conversation of cultural appropriation isn't actually as simple, I think, as like black people, white people, because there's all kinds of people. There's Asian people, there's Puerto Rican people, you know what I mean? You can culturally appropriate in a lot of different ways, you know what I mean? So like I don't know. It's an interesting hole to go down. It feels simple when you talk just black and white people, but like it gets more complicated. I feel like.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I like that they showed like they showed everybody, but there was like that performance of Mango Santorimo.
Yep. And they started to play the Watermelon Man, and that's where we got Lin-Manuel in.
Yeah, they had to put Lin-Manuel in there because Questlove's got to be like, I know Lin-Manuel. We're cool.
I'm like, I think they're homies, and because that's the only reason I was like, why is Lin here? For like a hot
It was
second.
definitely just because they're homies, for sure.
Yeah, I love that they threw Sheila E. in there for a second.
Yeah.
Like, let's just give a shout out to Sheila E. Like, fantastic drummer. She showed up for like 2 seconds, and I was like, I feel like this is just Questlove like flexing that he knows Sheila E. You know, like, he's just I could just call this lady. You know,
but she was also talking about like how she learned to drum from the folks who were on stage.
Oh,
and
that's
so I'm
true.
like,
yeah, that's very true.
I was like, that's a cool. It made me pay attention because I was like, Sheila E. talking about drumming.
Yeah.
Great.
There's a live video of her getting this drum solo on, I can't remember exactly which song it is. Oh my god. She starts like she gets rid of the sticks at one point. She's just like smacking the cymbals. Like, she literally just starts smacking that shit with her hands at one point. Yeah, she's so crazy.
Savage.
So crazy. Yeah.
Other performances that stood out was definitely Nina Simone. Like, what a great closer.
Yeah.
But also Sly.
Oh my god.
In the Family
Sly and Family Stone.
Like, Omar, when you were just talking about like these outfits, and I'm like, that's very Sly. They were like, Sly came in and changed the whole fashion game. But also, like, you have to be a certain type of confident and actually good to come late to a performance, like, be tuning up on stage. They were like, who are these two white dudes who are on there with y'all?
Like, why's the one drumming?
That was so funny to me that they were
play.
all freaking out about it.
They were all like, why is
They were probably all like, oh, okay, white boy.
Yeah, no, they were probably going crazy the moment he started hitting the sticks. They were
I'm like, we
"God
still do
damn."
the same thing now. We're like, white people can do things. Like, like they're not fucking people.
Oh my god. Yo, the guitarist, well, I got quite a few white people in my band, but the guitarist, yo, he got this, like, he's got the blackest feel, I swear to God. And so I was like, wait till these people see you, man. They're gonna be like, what the fuck?
I like how when they were like, white people going to the moon, we don't give a fuck. Like, that shit not impressive. But as soon as a white dude starts playing the drums, they're like, whoa,
that shit's impressive.
Holy shit.
slow down. That's whoa. I don't even think my brain can't even.
I don't know about that.
But you know, then they were into it though. It was like the second they started going, they were like, oh, heard, say less.
We gotta also give a huge shout out to like Tony Lawrence, because like festivals don't really have like an MC like that, and the confidence. First of all, he put that together, right?
Also,
like,
the fit he was wearing.
Well, they said he was like leaning on the mayor. That's whose name I'm looking for, because they were like, it's this our favorite blonde hair, blue eyed brother.
Bring him up on
that
stage.
part was so funny. It was full like when black people still trusted politicians. But I like that part. Like, the mayor's about to walk off stage, and he like snatches the mayor by the arm to like come back and sing a song with them. Like, the confidence. You get shot for doing that shit now.
But it takes like a certain type of ally, I guess, to like actually go through with this. Because they even showed a clip of dude like being cussed out because he supports black and brown people in his own city. Like, I feel like if you are the mayor of New York, there's no way around it. You can't be like a full blown bigot. Like, the city will eat you alive.
Yeah. You can't have this revolution without, people in power supporting. You know what I mean? Like, you'll literally not get anywhere. As much as you want to.
Unless it's a full restart that like we're not.
Unless there's a full...
I know we not finna do that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Unless it's like
drones.
They got drones. Nigga, I don't got no drone.
They probably I feel like if I talk about this too loud, somebody's gonna fucking hop out. And, you know what I mean? Like, they got. They don't even need to bring a person anymore. There's literally, the fact that straight up, the fact that I can buy a drone on Amazon means that the technology is like way past that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The moment I saw that shit, it was like, oh, this drone is $35.99. Fuck.
Yeah, they got 35. They got under $100 drones.
Yeah,
best believe they got some. They got super soldiers in that bitch.
Oh fuck. Yeah, no.
Well,
100%.
They got Iron Man
100%.
armor in there.
Nina Simone?
Well, we were talking about Nina Simone. We don't keep talking about her. We can keep talking about her. I mean, there's lots to say.
Yeah,
I'm like, I feel bad because I kind of like grazed over her. It was like I mentioned her and then kept going. So I'm like, Nina Simone, fucking killed that shit.
She did. It was incredible, and it was the best. It was like people running to see her. Like, it was what a beautiful way to end it. I liked when like the filmmakers were talking about. I wish they talked to the filmmakers more, to be honest. When they talked about like how there's no lighting, so they literally had to face west, so the sun was pointing at them at all times, and everybody was fully in vision. But you know, that's a hard thing for those cameras to do in like low light, is just capture anything and look like clean, or also look really, really fizzy and weird.
Yeah, I really like that they took the time to, you know, think about that, because it just showed how many logistics there were in this festival. I really just love the community aspect of it, just like getting that many people out, getting people out for free to listen to music.
For free!
It is the point. That's the point of the thing, you know, is to entertain people. Like, I think music gets caught up in quite a bit of ego, you know, and all this and money and glam, but it's to entertain people. That's the point.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, you know, something like that probably can't happen now just because of just like weird shit like shootings and stuff for free.
God, yeah.
I think it also worked out like in the way that like obviously they didn't have like food services and stuff there. I don't know what the porta potty situation was, but people were like, yeah, we brought our own food, and they were like, it was 10 blocks from my house, and you could probably just go down to a store and go like to the bathroom or something. It was all in a park. 300,000 people. That's all.
Yeah, no, actually the shooting thing is a good point, because you would have to have crazy security, not just for the people up front, but you would have to be checking bags. Like, it's really a big deal, the shootings.
I'm like, they do have security there.
Yeah.
Who was the security?
The Panthers. The Panthers.
The Panthers. They had they were actively creating safety and security without police.
Yeah, like they've gotten this really terrible rap over the course of history. Like, the way that I think that, you know, like mainstream shit looks at the Panthers is like super incorrect. Like, breakfast programs defending this festival, like, they did a lot of good for the community, because when it comes down to it, it's like with policing, it's like, who are you protecting? You know what I mean? And it's like, if you're not white America, those cops are not protecting you. You're what's being protected from, you know? And I think like the Panthers being there and people feeling safe is because they're actually there to protect that festival, you know? Like, these cops have interests, you know, they have biases, they're people. I feel like I don't have to give a whole like anti-cop spiel thing to y'all, but you guys definitely get it. But I don't know. It's refreshing to see them in a positive light.
Something I was thinking about is that everybody who was coming to this stage was coming for a different purpose, and everybody who in the crowd was coming for a different purpose. Like they said, some people were coming for just one song, some people were coming to be a part of the experience, some people just needed the day off. And like, even on stage, like Fifth Dimension was trying to prove their blackness. You had Fly and the Family Stone try to show people like, nah, we're not just a bunch of late Negroes, like we got some stuff. And then you had like the whole Edwin Hawkins choir, who's like, we just trying to bring Jesus to the people. Like they were kicking them out of church because they're trying to like promote Jesus through music. And it's like,
yeah, I feel like we should take a moment. That was probably my highlight. The emphasis on the importance of the church to the black community and black history. Like Jesse Jackson, Reverend, you know what I mean? Like Al Sharpton is also a Reverend. Martin Luther King is a Reverend. Like, a lot of this community building was around gospel music. And honestly, even with myself. So like the first two musical like experiences I had, the first one was a quartet had come to my my elementary school, and that's why I like wanted to play violin, because I heard it and I was like, oh my god, that's so beautiful. And the other one was that my aunt at the time was a pastor at a church in West Philly called Camphor. It's like a little deep in West Philly, and we would go every week. You know, my mom would do like she helped organize the dance stuff, but I would watch the choir. I would watch the choir sing, and like the chops of the people in that choir were still some of the best I've seen to this day. Like, maybe I was a child, but I like swear on half the time that gospel people are like the best musicians. They have some of the best musicianship I've ever seen, and they really come with that spirit. They understand the importance of playing with spirit and seeing it on like such a big stage. Even though like I'm in no sense a Christian, but I still have a huge appreciation for gospel music. And how it, honestly, yeah, too. It also just like Sly, they pointed out that he started in the church. Like, so many people started in the church. And kind of to link it to something today, like one of my friends is a pastor. I'm trying to help him, you know, find some musicians for his church. But there wasn't that many people in the church when I had gone, and I realized that the church is dying, which I think is good for a lot. Like I am very spiritual, so I think a lot of this stuff is kind of changing towards like spirituality is more individualistic in kind of a way. It's like everybody has their own method to finding the source instead of, you know, like a group method kind of with like religion. But it was interesting that it's like, wow, this is like so where so many people get their start. And I think it's going to like shift in the coming generations of like where are some of these musicians going to come from, because they're also gutting like school programs, because that's another thing. They were gutting school programs like for so long. Like the music programs in schools have always been terrible, so that's why I think a lot of people started in the church. But now in particular it's getting even worse. So it's like we talk about like why aren't people like crazy instrumentalists anymore, and it's like because literally where do you start, you know, like when do you get exposed to it if you don't get exposed to it in school, you know, or the church. So
you pay for it, you pay a bunch of money for classes.
Yeah.
And that's dumb. Art should not be an elitist thing that you have to get through a paywall first to experience. Like,
it's bullshit. Yeah, and I also like that a lot of that really felt like kind of a late memorial service for Dr. King.
Yeah.
Like it was just Jesse Jackson coming out there and describing his death.
That was wild.
I was like,
I'd never heard him talk about the death of Martin Luther King ever. Like, I mean, I never looked it up. I know what happened. I know the Lorraine Hotel, and I've seen the picture of them all pointing. So that part he describes it like you almost forget he's talking about the assassination, then he just goes bow, and it like cuts off like that. Like that, just like it made the death just hit, and then like all those people like they felt it. And I like that he said like they played his favorite song, and it was like he requested that song before he died. And they played that.
And also, like, with that performance, like, let's talk about Mahalia Jackson. Because, Omar, you was bringing up the spirit and how the spirit be moving through people. And that was really... Yes. I mean, her and the other girl. Like, it was like... I don't know. Like, you really have to be in church to, like, see people full body sing and allow themselves to, like, open up and, like, hear sounds that you might be too embarrassed to hear on the street. And, like, that... Woo, man. You could see her face swell up and change colors as like it's just like like reverberating through like you. Oh my gosh! And it's somebody else. There was like another group who I was like, oh my gosh, you don't get to hear this many like altos or like tenor women singing. Like it feels like this dark tone, this like lower meatier voice isn't something that you get a lot more. Some other sounds you might hear today, and that was just like a lost piece of art of like letting the spirit truly move through you to get the sound and get the message out that I really appreciated here and miss in real life, because I only get it in church.
I have this weird theory as I was watching it, and I'm like, you know, we see people like getting taken, you know, like they do that thing where they're shaking their body and all that stuff, and they're like and I think about like punk shows when they do that, and I'm like, Did they just steal that shit from Black Church? Did punk shows steal their aesthetic from the Black Church? Because like it's just like you're running around, you're in the music, you're like you're in that shit, and nobody thinks you're crazy. They just like they're feeling the power of the Holy Spirit, and like that can mean a million things to a million people. But like people could do that at a concert. Like white people aren't going to church and going like
Well, that was actually one of the craziest like jumps in my life. So I like had gone from, you know, living in Norristown and going to church in West Philly to my mom married somebody and we moved out to Exeter, which is like an all white area. And that's when I really learned the difference in economics between the two. I really took a little jump up, right? And the church that we would go to was one of the things that I hated most about living in that area. That church, like I went from these people that were like, people would be like falling to their knees, and there would be like this beautiful choir, organist, you know what I mean? Like fantastic situation, you know what I mean? To like just nothing in the praise songs. Like I don't understand how we're not bringing anything. Like I don't know. It's a fundamental of like, I feel like me starting in music, it's just like hearing that, and like the difference was so shocking. You know, it's crazy. Yeah, I really like that you chose this for me, because I didn't even think about the parallels with Ultraviolet, but we literally sat and watched like some of my favorite live sessions. You know what I mean? and like some of yours too, like live footage, and they're like spliced around, and also like cast over me. The Rick James one is cast over me, and just like searching for archival footage is so fun because you learn so much. Like I remember for that one in particular, I found this video of like integration in schools from like the early 70s, and it was like a video that they were like showing in like New York, and they were like, we're all the same, and it was just like it's just really funny because that the parents were freaking out. Like the white parents were freaking out when they were showing them this video. They were not thinking any of this was the same, but it's
critical race theory bullshit.
Yeah. Or even like a good one too. So like everybody always thinks they're on the good side of history. That's like since always. And just I love seeing the reaction of people to integration. You know what I mean? And I think one of my highlights for the whole movie was the girl who was integrating that college. I can't remember her name.
The journalist. She was great. What is?
She
I
said
gotta
that
look
she
up
was
her
listening
name.
to Nina Simone. That is awesome. She was going through a very difficult struggle. Well, she was being harassed constantly in every direction.
She was really fighting a one-person war.
She was literally fighting. And what is she listening? She's listening to Nina Simone. Like, it goes back to, again, that I think, like, music has been taken away from its, like this stuff is revolutionary, and it is important that we don't, at least me, like, as musicians and as artists, as filmmakers, that you don't get away from that there are people who are, like, doing the work, you know what I mean? Like, she's going to become a journalist. Like, that's somebody who can really, really impact and create change, and inspiring those people in those times when they're when they're down, when they're kicked and they're down, to keep going, I think is like a really good, important impact that artists can have, as well as, helping to remember a certain time is really important as well for our function. But I think like inspiring people, and it's just like great to hear that, listening to Nina Simone like got her through that. That's crazy.
Yeah, her name is Charlene Hunter Galt is her name.
Yeah.
One thing I want to point out that was also pointed out. Everybody in the crowd, those that sea of mostly black and brown people, mostly black though. They were all so beautiful. But like they all looked so good. They all looked so they all looked beautiful. Like all the kids looked so adorable. Like I don't know. Everybody just looked fucking. Maybe that just was just my like rose-colored glasses that I was looking at the film at, because I just wanted to be there. Yeah. And just like just seeing all those people happy, just like I don't know. It felt like they felt beautiful. You know what I mean? They're just like, you look, this looks like a happy ad, but y'all are genuinely happy to be here.
And I feel like that goes to like the self-love thing that has to happen if you are black in America, because you're looking on TV. Like, I don't know, like I was raised by a lot of TV, and like just watching, you don't see yourself on television at all. And when you do see yourself on television, it's like you're some kind of criminal. You're like, you're not, you're ugly, So I think like once you do go through and do some of that internal work to get rid of, that white supremacy, like, looking at a sea of black faces, it feels so like almost intoxicating to look at, when I was watching it, I was like, this is just beautiful. You know what I mean? And have this represented in such a positive light, like absolutely beautiful. 'Cause they made a good point of saying that Harlem, has such a bad reputation when there's so many just working families,
Yeah, and I was excited to hear people say that they were excited to be in crowds of black people, because I still get the same feeling. And to know that that's like universal, like, that there's people around you, you have a community, but like it's not always so easy to see, like it's not so easy to grasp. But like going to Afropunk, going to the Roots picnic, like those are all community moments where you're like, wow, we can really like be safe inside of these walls right here and just jam out. And like that is a magical, powerful, spiritual moment that I'm glad that we get to continue to share. But, I wish that it could be free. I wish there was more performances out in the open where we didn't have to worry about this. But, times be the times.
That's crazy, because that's the thing about this lineup. A lot of free festivals, they're like local festivals, and it's not like this is like heavy hitters. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yes.
That one person was the number one artist. You know what I mean? Like, or they had the number one song. Like it's like those are all heavy hitters that are on this lineup,
and they're playing to your neighborhood for free.
And
shout out to Tony Lawrence, y'all.
They're playing great. Like.
especially like Nina Simone. Like Nina Simone was Nina Simone by that time. And like, so that's a big fucking deal. That would be like if, I mean, I don't want to compare her to anybody, but like if Beyonce just played somewhere for free in a park. Yeah. And I mean, obviously fame is different than what it was then.
I was saying to be famous in Black at that time was a totally different experience than being famous in Black now. Like Beyonce's got security because people love her so much, but Nina's got security because people are trying to kill her for being Black. And she's just like out here singing about her actual life experiences, and people are like, nah, who cares about your feelings? So it's wild that she grew as much as she did and still held on to the person that she is and never let go of like her honesty, her truth. Man, and then put it in the music so that way we can remember it forever. And remember those stories and like still be vibing off of it now, because not much has changed.
Yeah, and so I don't know if y'all saw this, but YG just put out a song. It's called "How to Rob a Rapper" on his latest tape. And I was listening to the song. The song is hot. But I was like, wow, this is very tone deaf, because people are literally getting robbed. Like P&B just died. You know what I mean? Like I think
we're trying to get away from that shit.
Yeah, like why is fame and Blackness like now a lick? You know what I mean? Like Nina Simone was being protected from the white powers that were trying to stop her from saying the things that she was saying. She was very heavily like interwound with like people like James Baldwin, you know what I mean, who were like the poets and stuff at the time. But like, why is it now you're robbing people who are doing positive things?
It's because people think that like once you have a little bit of fame, like once people know your name, then you must have some sort of power. But especially in today's time, that's not true, because it's like anybody can be a big name because the internet is the internet. But you probably put yourself out there. You are probably like putting in all of the work to like make yourself into something, and nobody's paying you until you've done it yourself.
Any final closing thoughts? Would you recommend this movie? Obviously we all would, but what was your just any final thoughts you have? Mine, I'll say this movie's awesome. It's a really good documentary. It's a really good concert movie. Concert movies I feel like are hard to watch sometimes. At least for me, I don't always like them. But this was like, I don't know. It was a perfect mix of documentary and concert film. And the way it would like cut to things and like overlay like Stevie Wonder's like two different shots and like overlay them. I don't know. It just felt so fluid. Editing was great. Shout out to Questlove. Thank you for not thank you, but like shout out to him for getting an Oscar for his first film. But art is art. Don't matter how long you've been doing shit for.
Comprehensive, I think, is the word I would use. Like it's just like. So it just told it from all these different angles, and it told it so well,
Yeah. Final thoughts are that you should watch this because it shares the importance of music, of Black people, of community, and hopefully this can be an example for things to happen in the future. Because, they said like it felt so good to be there and then it was forgotten. But if you don't forget, then you can bring it back. Like you can always resurrect that feeling, or at least the sense of urgency to create spaces in events like this.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. This has been Fade to Black. We'll see you next week. Shout out to Omari Vel. Shout out to Sunny B. Rose. I am David Dunnington. I have been and will always be David Dunnington. Good night. Good luck.
Thanks for listening to Fade to Black. You can check out new episodes Monday and Friday throughout the month. And if you want more episodes past the month of February, let us know. And maybe we'll set up a Patreon? I don't know. Anyway, peace, love, and cocoa butter. Bye.